Hello everybody, today I have a wall pack fixture for all of you. This is an e-conolight 150 watt high pressure sodium bronze wall pack fixture. This is pretty cool, picked it up at the Restore a little while back. 50% off for $5, that's not too bad. They had a couple of them there, I only picked up one of them. Some of them said that they had lamps. This one says it does, there's no bulb inside. Other ones said they didn't have bulbs, maybe they did have bulbs inside, but it's not the end of the world because I have plenty. So it's actually a good thing probably that there's nothing in here. Either way, we have a brand new fixture to take a look at, and that's always exciting. So on the front of the packaging here, we have a very generic sticker, just e-conolight wall pack 150 watt high pressure sodium bronze. We get a little bit of a picture of it here. And we can go to their website. It still does exist. They make a lot of LED fixtures now. But you can find this fixture on their website. It's now just discontinued. Now, I may be wrong, but when I did find this fixture on their website, it said that it sold for $20. That seems kind of cheap for the construction that this is. It is aluminum and a glass refractor, so maybe they had them on clearance towards the end of its lifespan, and they were just getting rid of them. But I thought that's what I saw on their website. I'm sure they were worth a bit more than $20 brand new. If it was, I mean, that was a really good deal for a wall pack like this. So that's all the information we have on this box, really, is what you see here. There's nothing on any of the other sides or bottom or anything. We can get to the top here, and that's really about it. So let's zoom out a little bit so we have a bit more area to work with. And let's see what is inside. Looks like we have some instructions here, so let's go ahead and take a look at those. Instruction manual, looks like they had a couple different versions. I think this is the version we have here. Did it say it on the front? Yeah, so here it is, EWP3H. Okay, so it's one of these smaller versions, and we had a medium and a larger version here as well. So we have the small version. Looks like it came in 150 watt. Pulse start metal halide, 175 watt metal halide, and 150 watt high pressure sodium. Of course, we have the high pressure sodium one here. Now, the bigger versions, I'm sure here would have had the 250 watt, 320 watt. That's kind of an energy saving pulse start metal halide bulb setup thing. I don't believe it was directly replaceable with 400 watt. I believe it had its own ballast and everything. Of course, 250 watt and 400 watt metal halide standard probe start, and 250 watt and 400 watt high pressure sodium. That most certainly would have been for these bigger fixtures here, so they had the extra capacity inside. Looking at it, I'm guessing that's where they're getting some of this here. The 400 watt versions had the bigger housing, and the 250 watt versions had the medium. And of course, our small version here, you can kind of get an idea with the numbers, the size of lamp that it would hold. Okay, interesting. Lamps are not interchangeable. That is very important for someone who might not know what a high intensity discharge fixture is. And then of course we have instructions here in another language. So that's our manual, pretty basic. You do have a date of 2008 down here. Now that's when this was printed or last updated. It's been sitting around somewhere for a while, a little bit of rust there on the staples. But here's our fixture, brand new in box. And I will say that this is a nice box. It is double walled. As you can see, we have 2 layers of cardboard there, which is nice for something like this. Oh, there's some more stuff in here. It looks like a troubleshooting guide with some diagrams. That's always nice. This is the first time I think I've seen a company do such a thing like this to help people, you know, figure out whatever issues they're having. That is helpful. Okay, and on the back here, it looks like we have some information about wattages and sockets and ballast numbers and ballast type and voltage. That's kind of a handy little sheet to include here for all the different versions they would have had. Looks like this was dated about 2006. Fun stuff. Okay, that's kind of nice for them to include for people to sort out their issues. Now, I'm going to tip this upside down because I think it's going to be the easiest way to get it out of here. There we go. Let me set the box aside. It's like unboxing a new electronic, but it's actually more exciting because it's a fixture. Okay, I'm going to put the camera back to normal so you have a little bit of an idea here. The size of this thing. Very nice. I like the finish on it. Now, I did take this out after I got it out of curiosity to see what it is and what's inside. So I've kind of had a little peek around, but I'm pleasantly surprised for the price that they were offering this thing at on their website originally. Now, like I said, that probably could have been a clearance price, but you do get a glass refractor here, and this is an aluminum enclosure. It's not plastic. On the side here, we have a UL sticker. That's dated November of 2007. It passed quality control in 2008, my guess. Maybe that's something else. I don't know. Looks like we have an area here on the back that's kind of above. Maybe a capacitor or something goes there. Maybe the ballast is there. I don't remember. But it's pretty flat on the back other than that. On the other side, we have our hinges, because this actually hinges open. A very nice design. We have the screws here on the side, and then it opens like so. And just so you have a bit of an idea here, here is a 100 watt incandescent bulb. This thing is pretty large, and it does use a medium base high pressure sodium bulb inside. So, let's get one more side profile here, just so you can get an idea of what we have, because some of these companies have bigger refractors on them and some have smaller. I've seen some where it comes out a lot further. This one's a little bit more recessed into the fixture. All just different designs. We do have a little bit of a slanted top here. That's nice for rain and whatnot. Again, it is nice that they have these openings. Unfortunately, there's not one at the bottom. That's kind of a bummer, because that's where I would want it to come out at, to be honest with you. But we'll probably use one of these side entry ones. So that's fun to see. So let's go ahead and unscrew these screws on the side, and we'll be able to swing this thing open. They are just standard Phillips screws, so they're not, vandal proof or anything like that. I'm sure you could go to the hardware store and get some vandal proof ones if you so desire to have that. But they are coated in some type of, I don't know, paint or resin or something. We do have a rubber gasket here on the screw as well. And, well, I guess it slides right off. So we have our hinges here on the side. And as you can see, it just kind of hangs on that and then swings closed. Very nice design. I like that. Again, we have our glass inside here. It appears to be decent thickness. It's nothing too thin. I like the little bolted sides here to hold the glass in place. We do have a gasket around it there, sealed nicely. They do have a top written on it there. Yeah, it's a nice glass. Now, the metal isn't that thick, but it's at least metal. It's not plastic for an economy style fixture, So let's move that aside and take a closer look at the fixture itself. Now, obviously, we want most of the light coming this way, so we kind of have an interesting reflector design going on here. The pretty standard kind of water pebble-looking design for the reflector. It's nothing super fancy. Rude would have used something that's just total flat metal. I mean, I kind of would have preferred that, but I understand what they're going for here. It distributes the light a little bit more randomly. So let's see what we have here. So we have our socket. It's just a pretty standard pulse-rated socket. Disposal of mercury lamp. And hidden in the corner here, we can see our information for what type of lamp it actually takes. 150 watt type high pressure sodium. So if you look down in there when you're relamping it, it'll give you an idea. And my guess is that this tape was holding on a bulb that was in here. But whoever had these, or for sale or wherever, they probably had the bulbs burn out and they had some extra fixtures or something. And they were like, well, if I take them out, I don't have to buy a new bulb. but we have extra fixtures. So I'm sure it was probably some Pulse brand bulb, the pretty standard ones, Polar Pulse or whatever they're called. They came with a whole bunch of pretty standard fixtures, consumer grade stuff. Speaking of consumer grade, we'll find something underneath this. If we take out these two Phillips screws here, obviously we have our ballast compartment. While it's closed up on this end, it is open here. You can see a ballast in there. Maybe you got a hint as to what kind of ballast it is, because while this is apparently a more economic or a cheaper fixture brand, we don't have Advance or any of the big name companies in here. In fact, it's all pretty standard stuff that you've probably seen before if you would have bought a fixture at Home Depot. It's Caster. It's some pretty basic stuff. In fact, if we take a look here, even the molding of the fixture is Caster. You can see their name molded into it. So all of these parts are Caster, and they were sourced by the e-conolight brand to make their fixtures. We do have the mounting here, so we can mount it onto an electrical box. I do like that. I'm not sure how I will drill this out to mount it on the wall, but we'll probably use these two hook things here, because I do like that. You can kind of hang it up. That's a nice idea. But anyway, yes, the whole fixture is made by Caster. As you can see, the housing, the ballast. I'm trying to do this in such a way that you can see it. I apologize because I have to hold it a certain way. 150 watt. We don't have a capacitor here, so I'm guessing either normal or low power factor. We'll have to see when we turn it on. It passed a bunch of inspections, it looks like, and that was January 31st of 2008 at 10:13 a.m. And of course, we have a Caster igniter here as well. Now, a nice thing with that is that it is separate. We took a look at a canopy fixture here. Maybe that video's up, maybe it's not yet. But it had an integrated igniter into the ballast. So this is nice. It's at least separate. If something goes wrong, we can replace it. Super simple. Now, naturally, if we had, a different ballast here, it would be mounted a little bit differently. But that's our 150 watt ballast. So what I am going to do now is wire this thing up, make some holes, and we'll continue on. Got the fixture all wired up. I decided to drill a hole in the bottom here for the cord to come in and just use my own cord restraint here on the inside to center everything right in the middle, because I did end up drilling holes here, right here and here, for mounting the fixture. So if it's on a 2x4 or something, at least everything's right in a line. I was originally going to have it come in through the side here because it's closest to the grounding point, but I have an extra little ground pigtail here. We'll just use that. So everything's wired up in here. I am pretty happy with how it all turned out. Now we just need to put our reflector and ballast housing cover back on here. So it literally just sits there. There's not really much to it. And we'll get our screws put back into place. There we go. Now, while this fixture looks like it would accommodate a mogul base bulb, obviously we have a medium base socket here. Now, we could change that out for mogul base. It looks like it has the mounting points for it. It has the holes drilled and everything. So you could put a mogul base bulb in here, but obviously they have it set for medium. This is a 70 watt mogul base bulb, but it just shows that if there was a mogul base in here, it would fit, because this is the same enclosure that they would have used for a 150 watt high pressure sodium bulb as well. Now, this is the bulb that we are going to use. A Philips 150 watt medium base high pressure sodium. I have a bunch of these, some really old Philips ones that were made by Westinghouse right when they were transitioning. Those are pretty cool. We'll have to make a video of those sometime. But it's really funny because it's a cram lamp. You cram the arc tube into this small lamp. But the Philips ones here do have a dimple at the top to hold our arc tube. And you can see the etch there. So we'll get that in our socket. Again, a little funny that the arc tube's all the way over here instead of in the center. But that's what we have. Now, even if it was mogul, it still wouldn't be exactly center, but it would be a little bit better. Now that we have our bulb in the fixture, now let's put our cover back on. And we can close it up. And let's put this thing on display and test it out. Okay, we got the fixture installed here on our wall of many fixtures. So let's get the camera set up on the tripod and turn it on. Okay, let's go ahead and turn the lights off. Let's turn it on here for the first time in 3, 2, 1. Ooh, nice and quiet. Let's go ahead and get some readings here. Very quiet. Very, very quiet. Love that high pressure sodium glow. Very low pressure sodium-y right this moment. We're currently at 119 volts, 4.26 amps, 100 watts, and a power factor of 0.2. Brand new bulb in here as well, obviously. Let's go ahead and let it warm up. Okay, I'm going to say we're at full brightness. This thing is taking forever to get warmed up all the way and level off on the meters. It has just been, it got up to decent brightness pretty quick, but getting the meters to level off, at least decently, has taken a while, as you can see by this being on for almost 9 minutes here now. So anyway, let's go ahead and see how well it's lighting everything up and what our lux and watt meters have to say. It certainly lights everything up quite nicely, almost a little more vertical than horizontal wise. Now, that could also be because we have a fixture here that is blocking some of the light, coming this way. But if we take a look at the refractor here, it definitely is refracting light a lot up. Now, of course, it is doing it side to side. But as you can see, there's definitely a lot of extra light up here. Normally you'd want it, at the fixture or, down here. But we have a lot of extra light pollution going on up here. So it's not necessarily any better than, a area light. At least it puts it down, there's a top to it. So, I mean, it's a wall pack. What do you expect from it? It's got a refractor on the front. It's doing the best it can. Either way, it lights everything up nicely. There's not really any hot spots for, or bright spots, I should say, for areas of light. It's pretty evenly distributed. So, let's take one more look at the fixture here. Kind of see the arc tube there. You can see it's not centered in the fixture, obviously. It's a little to our left. I'm sure if it had a mogul base inside, it would be a little bit more centered for us. And it can always be upgraded to that, but I really do like having the medium base option for 150 watt because I do have a variety of those bulbs that I'd love to demonstrate for you. So it's awesome having this fixture to do so. And of course, we have our lux meter here on the ground. It's about 5.5 feet from the arc tube inside, and we're getting about 606 lux or so. It kind of jumps all over the place, as you can see. And of course, we gotta take a look at our meter here. So if we can get it to show up. Okay, there we go. So we're at 118.4 volts, 3.35 amps, 155 watts, and a power factor of 0.39. Now, I was honestly waiting for this wattage to go up more so that we'd have more ballast loss, because the bulb is rated for 150 watts, but according to this, we'd only have 5 watts of ballast loss. And I'm sure it's more than that. So either it's not running this bulb all the way up, or it is that efficient. But I highly doubt it because, you know, our power factor here isn't good. We don't have a capacitor inside for correction, so I'm guessing it's not necessarily driving the bulb at its complete full potential. The spectrum of the bulb right after turn on. The spectrum of the bulb during warm up. And the spectrum of the bulb at full brightness. The CRI of the bulb right after turn on. The CRI of the bulb during warm up. And the CRI of the bulb at full brightness. The white balance of the bulb right after turn on. The white balance of the bulb during warm up. And the white balance of the bulb at full brightness. You know we gotta have cool down time. Always get some nice cool down with these high pressure sodium bulbs. As always, I do hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, be sure to give it a like down below and leave a comment. I do enjoy reading all of your comments. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel for more great videos like this one. Also check out my secondary channel Merkove and subscribe over there for more behind the scenes and alternative content. Of course, check out the other videos here on this screen, and as always, thank you very much for watching.